Olabisi Usidame is an experienced classroom teacher, trauma therapist, and professional counselor with a demonstrated history of working in the education management industry. This educational knowledge has equipped her to use cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. CBT is a short-term, goal-oriented psychotherapy treatment that takes on a hands-on, practical approach to problem solving. She is skilled in team building, strategic planning, social media research, and community development. She is a strong education professional with a Master of Education (MED) focus in education from the University of South Wales. Please welcome Olabisi Usidame.
It's very nice to be here with everybody. It's an honor to hang out with the youth and support. Like I always say, growing up for a lot of us, we didn't have as much information that we have now. And also, we didn't have enough role models, people who were willing to be vulnerable to support us on this journey of life, journey of discovering self, improving our self-esteem. Okay, so I'm pretty much glad to be here. I'm still waiting for someone to just do a hello BC, hello Olabisi, whichever one you choose, and then I know that you can hear me loud and clear. Fantastic. I see that you can hear me. Thanks, Ruby. It's nice to be here with all of you. Awesome. Great. Self-esteem. Oh my goodness. It's a dicey topic. Even psychologists are still trying to get to the rudiment of it. Like, okay, what does it entail? How do you go on this journey? And they have not been able to get that done. But you see, the truth is, it's a journey. It's that develops and strengthens over time. You're unable to get to that point overnight. You're not able to get there. So I'm just going to start with quickly sharing my screen. The title for today's conference, so for my own theme, is having a healthy self-esteem and self-worth. I'm going to ask a few questions. So I would ask you to reflect. It's something that I've found recently that reflection is key. Sometimes we think we know everything, or sometimes we feel, I have a general idea of this topic or how this makes me feel. But we don't exactly pause for a minute or two to deeply reflect and see how much depth or how much impact a particular issue has on us. So I'm going to ask us to rate ourselves on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being definitely not me. 5 being, this is more like me. And 10 being, this is totally me. Okay? So please chat in the section. It helps when you're thinking it through and then you're responding. Are we ready, guys? Oh, they're able to share it. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Great. All right. All right. We ready? I want to see us respond in there, in the chat section. Great. Thank you. All right. So, do you sometimes hate yourself or feel angry or frustrated about who you are? You know how you make a mistake and, instead of you just seeing it as a mistake and you're like, oh my goodness, that was so embarrassing. You just go like, oh my God, must I always make a fool of myself? Must I always do this? If you feel that's who you are, most of the time you can do a 10. If you feel, well, sometimes I'm like that, sometimes I'm not, you can do a 5. And if you know that that's not you, then you do a 1. Okay? All right. So I'm waiting for your response to that. It just gives me an overview of what to expect or what we're about here, so we know what direction to take. All right. Another is you're being obsessed with being perfect. It's not like you do it intentionally. you just find out that it's not, when you do things or when people do things, your first, thought is, oh, it could have gone better, it could have gone this way, it could have been done this way, it could have done that way. You don't even think about the effort that you have put in or the effort somebody else has put in that's been obsessed with being perfect. If that is you, I think you should do a 10. If it's sometimes you and not all the time, you can do a 5. And if that's totally not you, you can do a 1. Yeah. All right. I'll just pick another one and then we can carry on. It just gives me an overview of what my audience is like and what we need to work on. Great. So I see someone has picked a 5. Um, 5, yeah. So that means sometimes you're that, sometimes you're not. Most times it depends on people's expectation of you. If you're doing a 5, it may just mean, maybe if it's just you, you're okay with it, but you're like, oh my God, a promotion is banking on this, or how people see me as a successful person or a serious person is, is determined by this result. Then we tend to get anxious about that, and we just tend to become, tend towards perfectionism. All right. Now, some people are naturally people pleasers. So if you know that's you, you can put a 10. If it's not you, you put a 1. And if it's you some of the time, then you can do a 5. Great job. Thank you for sharing. Fantastic. All right. All right. I want to do something here. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing. All right, let's move on. So the truth is, self-esteem is so important. It is vital for our success in life. How we perceive ourselves in our relationships, how we perceive ourselves in our careers, how we perceive ourselves in future endeavors. A healthy self-esteem is so important. It is important. A person who comes into a relationship with a poor self-esteem will tend to give so much of themselves to the relationship. It becomes a more of a giving than a receiving relationship. Sometimes it tends to get to a point where there's some sort of abuse happening there. It could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be verbal, it could be sexual, but whichever way, there's a tendency for that to happen. Self-esteem is so key. It is so vital. It is so vital because it helps us to get going. It keeps us motivated. It is so different from self-confidence, by the way. Self-confidence is your belief in the ability that, you know what, I can achieve this, I can achieve that. You know your abilities. So you know what, if anybody says things to you, you're like, come on, I can do this myself. But you see, in the part of self-esteem is when you're not able to get things perfect, you feel down and out. When you're given a new duty or a responsibility, you get very anxious at first, trying to settle in. Those are signs of low self-esteem, which happens to quite a few people. How people perceive you makes a lot of difference for you. It's usually can distort how you see yourself. So you may actually think you're confident in your abilities. Or at some points when people constantly, continuously throw jabs at you, for example, if you're in a very toxic work environment or in a toxic home, you tend to begin to doubt your abilities, doubt who you are. Then you know that, oh, look, there's something I need to do in this regard. All right. So, how you feel about yourself determines your level of self-esteem. If you feel like, you know what, I'm good, I'm just amazing as I am just blessed. You drown out those voices. Now, a word someone says, if it does not meet a mind that is receptive, but a mind that chokes it out, a mind that is so positively saturated and chokes it and just throws it out, such a word cannot grow fruit or cannot, create an impact in the life of that person. But when a negative word is sown into a heart that is just the mind that is free, you know, fertile soil, but nothing is growing there, those words grow quickly there. They grow quickly, especially if there's also a root in that place, a root from the past that has not grown but has been there for a long time. Such a seed just is like a catalyst and just confirms what people had said to you about you in the past. And if you're not careful, no matter what you achieve, it doesn't just feel like it's good enough, is great enough, and sometimes people tend to become depressed, tend to just live life looking at life from a gray perspective, and it can be really down, can go down south from there. Okay. All right. So, like I said earlier, self confidence and self esteem are totally different. Self esteem comes with what you feel on the inside of you, how you see yourself, how you see your abilities, how you see your shortcomings, how you see what you're able to do. You may be good at something, but if you feel like you're not good at it, if you have that perspective of yourself, it usually would affect the result of what your abilities or your projects or your relationships. And so it's important that in life for you to have a sunny perspective, a sunny feel to your life. It's about you deciding to shut down people that don't matter, shut out words that don't matter, shut out, environments that make you think less of yourself. It takes a deliberate effort. The world is so gloomy right now. Cyber bullying, workplace bullying, all of those things exist to want to ruin our lives. It's not everyone who sees you that you're confident and you're able to speak up really wants you to speak. Okay. All right. So low self-esteem is that destructive thought that keeps reminding you you're not good enough to fit in a social circle or you achieve a level of greatness. That's why some people can go for networking events from now till next year, but they're not able to connect because when they get there, they tend to still be in the corner. It could have a lot to do with their personality, but a lot of times it has to do with a low self-esteem simply because you just feel, why am I here? I don't feel, like I fit into the surrounding. You forgot why you came there in the first place. The reason why you would go for a networking event is not because you're bored at home, but it's because you wanted to meet people of like minds, people that are in your own space, people that are in your own sphere of influence, and you just want to connect and see how you can do things together. But a lot of times we're unable to get that done, right? So it's important that we find ourselves in that place where we're able to do that. Okay. All right. So self-esteem is like a living thing because it grows and develops over time. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't remain on one spot. The truth is, if you remain on one spot, you're likely to start feeling very brittle and break. You break on the inside. So it's important that you're strengthening your self-esteem, you're feeding it. It's got food that you need to feed it for it to grow to be healthy. You do not just assume that self-esteem, you're born with it. What you may be born with is resources, and that may make you feel confident about yourself. How you will know it's not a self-esteem thing is when somehow you find yourself, being in a house, growing up in a house where there is a lot of wealth, a lot of resources, and then something bad happens and all of that goes, and then you realize that you've attached your self identity to what you're worth, what you have on the outside, and then you realize that on the inside you don't feel like you have anything. There, you know that it's just confidence that you've had all the while, but not self esteem. All right. So, how do you build your self esteem? What are those things that you need to feed on? Okay. So for a minute, I'm going to talk like a therapist. And what I would say is the first step you need to take, even for a child, to be able to learn to accept self, to learn to love self, to learn to improve self, is to identify your strengths and weaknesses. It is very, very important. It is very important to identify your strengths. It is very important to identify your weaknesses. It is very important to accept self and your weaknesses. The moment you're able to accept yourself as that, it takes a lot of weight off your shoulders, and also it helps you when people are trying to douse your flame and say, "Oh my goodness, I don't know why you're wearing a skirt. You don't exactly look great in it. Why not just stick to slacks?" Or when someone says something about, "Oh my goodness, ah, you need to start wearing a peplum blouse. Your tummy is all out and all over the place," or your presentation was so poor, you could have done better. All those little jabs here and there that, when it just keeps hitting you, and you're soaking it in, at some point, you break down because you're like, oh, perhaps everybody is right. I am not this, I am not that. It's very quick to affect us. But when you know that, you know what, I'm very good at content development, I know that I have so much work to do in terms of presentation, presenting in front of people. That is a step of you identifying a part of you. And so what happens is, instead of spending so much time trying to create content that comes to you naturally, you spend less time doing that. You spend more time, researching on how can I present my work without feeling out of place, without feeling like a fish out of water. That's you accepting that, this is me. I have this challenge. I say again and again that people, I'm happy that certain horrible things happened to certain people who are now public speakers or preachers or people that we know. Because I feel like in life, for every known speaker, they have a message for a specific audience. I'll give an example. Some of us may know a particular preacher or a speaker whose life seems perfect, grew up with a silver spoon, have everything all together, grew up, got married to a beautiful woman, have lovely children, have a successful career as a preacher or whatever he is. Um, he will have certain kinds of audience that will go with him, perhaps the prim and proper, the creme de la creme of the society, because he has the perfect, seemingly perfect view of things and, a very good pedigree. But someone who went through the worst, who went through the rough, was a diamond in the rough, went through so much, was sexually abused maybe by her parents, verbally abused by her parents, physically abused by her family, who went through so much and who came out at the tops. Of course, it needed therapy, needed intervention from God, needed divine and total healing to get to that point. But such a person will not have a story for people who want to be the creme de la creme, who want to appear perfect to people. But there will be a message to people who have been through the worst. And they're like, you know what? If this woman is still standing, then, I can stand. So I say that because your mistakes and your shortcomings are not the end of you. Don't think your mistakes and your shortcomings are, not good enough reason for you to be where you feel you want to get to. I'm not saying, come out and say, oh, I've been raped 25 times, been sexually abused, or, I am this, I am that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying to accept all of these parts of you and still love yourself. And loving yourself is a journey, by the way. It means you begin to need to take conscious effort in certain areas of your lives. Let me just quickly start. Please, if you send me a message if my time is up, so I know when to stop. Because I know whatever it is I'm saying today, I know it will be enough for a particular person. How do you love yourself? Start by eating right. Some of us indulge or we eat because of how we feel about ourselves. We don't care. We just want to eat to make the pain go away. We feel so much pain and so much tightening in our chest that we just want to just leave as we go. Start with eating fruits, eating vegetables. You can't start by changing your diet totally, but start integrating it into your diet and see how it will change. This food give good energy, help to encourage the good release of positive hormones, positive chemicals into your body. Start by drinking a lot of water. Start by taking exercises 10 minutes a day for a week or two, move to 15 minutes, take a walk, and you'll see how things move. Those are the first steps to self love. Accepting yourself, identifying your strengths, weaknesses, identifying your opportunities, threats, like a SWOT analysis is very good. It helps you to know where you are, where you're struggling in, if you're quick to anger, if you're quick to condemning yourself. So you begin to know, okay, what can I do in this area of my weaknesses? Then you begin to list, oh, I need to have my own personalized word of affirmation. I have to take it every morning to encourage myself. Or I'm quick to thinking so much, so bad about myself, and it brings me down and causes anxiety. Then you begin to write down. You take on journaling and say, you know what, I'm going to be writing out the bad things I feel every day. When you write it, there's a tendency for it to leave you for that moment because you know you're not spending time dwelling on it. A lot of times, people who are prone to depression and anxiety are people who are introverted in nature. A lot is going on in their head. It's a mental. You don't want to know the mental analysis that goes on in their head. They box themselves down. You know, that's why they don't need anybody to discourage them. They're already discouraging themselves. A lot of analysis is going on there. They analyze their worst critic. They criticize every single thing they do. And so adding another person's own to it is like, oh, I knew it. I just knew I was never, I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not this. I'm not that. So, identifying that helps you. Listening to powerful messages help you. You will know who to listen to. You will know the motivational speaker that just always just there's a click between the two of you. So what you can do is go on YouTube, for example, type in messages on the area you're struggling with. Listen to varied messages by different people. You'll find that one person that you connect with, and your spirit connects with, and can help to revive how you feel about yourself. Okay? All right. So we move on from there quickly. All right. So it says here to be comfortable saying no. A lot of people struggle with this. So the truth is, self-esteem is something that most adults discover when they're teenagers, when they say that they are not able to do well under peer pressure, and they begin to realize that why don't I feel good about myself? And then they begin to trace it down to childhood and realize that some of what they're experiencing is based on what they went through as children. Okay. All right. Let me know if you think you can hear me. So I know that we're having a conversation. Um, yeah. All right. So childhood, as long ago as that is, it causes most of the issues that adults, youth, teenagers face at the moment. It's unbelievable what people go through or what people have gone through, but it's really sad. The effect stays on even when the memory has faded. The coping mechanism, the behavior has been formed. And so you see people who can't speak out in public based on what they went through as a child. You see people who are willing to please just for peace. So they may have grown up in a very toxic home where there was a lot of domestic abuse, and they just played the role of, you know what, I'm the conflict resolver. I'm going to try and do everything to make everybody happy so that I won't have issues in the house. So I don't get beaten by my dad or beaten by my mom. And that's how they begin to play that role. Healthy coping mechanism to the challenge of another person. Really, really sad. Okay, so all of those things make people become people pleasers, and say, you know what, I just want peace. I don't want to be stressed. Or they feel like if I don't do this, this person is going to hit me. This person is going to say really bad things about me that are not true. I don't want to get to that point again. I don't want to be in that place again. Whatever it is, people just find out. We find out that people struggle with saying no, and you really, at the back of your mind, if you really think back or if you really reflect, you will discover that you feel so less of yourself. It makes you feel, you get resentful that people don't respect you or show you respect. And it's actually coming from a place where you may feel that way because how do I put it now, you put yourself there, which is where self hate also comes in, because you're like, why do I keep saying yes, even when it's not convenient? And the truth is, if you say no, as much as it looks like everybody's going to be like, what? You can't help me. Yes, you have that power. That's the one power you have that nobody can take away from you, your choice. You have the power of choice. No one can take that away from you. Nobody. The moment you say, no, I've had enough, at first, it comes as a shocker to people who are used to abusing you or taking you for granted. But when you keep saying it, then they're like, something is changing with this person. They take a step back and they begin to understand. And you will see that the next time they want to ask you for something, they are not telling you to do it. They're asking if it works for you. At that point, still don't say yes if you don't feel like saying yes. Still say no, because you're getting your power back. You're getting your power back. Get comfortable with saying no to people. That's where assertiveness comes in. Your level of assertiveness will grow as you learn to say no. Say no even when you know you can do it, because you need to put yourself in a point where you're loving yourself and checking, does this work for me? Don't work yourself to a stupor. Don't work yourself just to make another person happy. You have to get yourself to a place where you're feeling very comfortable with yourself. All right. Okay. All right. So don't apologize for having a differing opinion or a different opinion. Do not apologize. Don't feel like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I made this decision. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, please forgive me. You know, some people are so quick to say sorry. When someone says, why do you do this? Well, because I want to do it. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize. Just say, oh, I see. So we need to teach our children as well, because our children are quick to also apologize because they feel they've done something wrong. Do not apologize for having a different opinion or perspective. When you've made a mistake of something, just say, oh, oops, sorry. I think I made a mistake there. And that's it. Don't beat yourself up. Don't feel so bad. Don't bury yourself in the ground for making a mistake. I tell people mistakes are proof that you're trying. It does not mean that you're a failure. Failure. Failure is an event, it's not a person. You may have failed at one project, but it doesn't mean that you're a failure all of your life. I can go on and count how many people made mistakes from the Bible. I can count how many people that we know make mistakes and they are surviving. They did not die, of course, unless when they decide that, you know what, I don't want to live in this world again. But never ever get yourself to that point where you want to kill yourself because you made a mistake. You goofed. Everyone goofs. Some goofs are forgivable, in a work environment, some are not, you'll be asked to go. But that doesn't mean that's the end of your life or the end of your career. You must learn to build yourself back up again. Okay? All right. I'm going to stop here um, after this particular slide and see if you have any questions to ask me, real life questions, because I'm here to support as many people as I can. Okay? All right. So, one of it is to identify your values. The truth is, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. One of the reasons why people just give into peer pressure is they don't even identify what their values are and what they should stand by. And it's important that we learn that as individuals, we learn that as a group, we learn that as a family, that what, these are our values and we do not fall short of it. What do I mean? Let me give you an example. What do you stand for? What do you believe in? Do you believe in, whatever it takes, I must succeed? Whatever it takes, I must succeed means you can do anything to succeed. You will cheat, you would lie, you will manipulate, you put people in trouble to want to be successful. Another person, honesty drives them. Honesty. Whatever is not honest, you're not going to find them there. That's a value. Okay? That is a value. People have different values. And so you need to discover yourself, identify your values, take a minute or two by yourself, sit down, ask yourself, what are my values? If you don't know the list of values we have, go online and check for list of values. It will help you to narrow down to 5 values that you live your life by. When you're able to reflect on that, that's what will drive you. Whatever doesn't align with it, whoever doesn't align with it, you don't let them into your space, into your comfort zone. You just, it keeps you going. It feeds your self-esteem, and you're like, you know what, I will not bring myself down. I know these people want me to compromise who I am. I will not do that. The moment you're able to do that, your confidence and your esteem in yourself will evolve and it will grow. All right. Having a healthy self-esteem is a journey. It's a journey to health. It requires certain factors to get to that point. Sometimes you have to go through therapy. Sometimes you have to go through, uh, you know, talking to someone to figure out and clear your head and have a clarity as to who you are, what you're dealing with, where you're going, and how to get there. So that is up to you. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Um, I I am pretty much done with talking about how to improve your self-esteem. The truth is, in reality, we have questions, and questions will help to direct us. But I'm pretty sure we have enough panelists in the house to answer some of those questions. But just to let you know, no matter how down you are in your self-esteem, no matter how low you feel about yourself, it's a journey, and you will get there. A lot of us had really poor low self-esteem, and how we saw ourselves, and it was a journey, and we are where we are today. A lot of people don't share their story because, again, vulnerability is not for everybody, but the truth is there are other people that are willing to share their journey with you and let you know that, you know what, Rome wasn't built in a day. You can get to where you want to be, and it just takes you doing the right thing, nipping certain relationships, um filling it with, other things, learning more about yourself, developing your areas of shortcomings or weaknesses, and just complementing your weaknesses, you know with your strength, or your strength with your weaknesses. All right. Thank you so much, Ify. I know you're somewhere there. And I'm really thankful for the opportunity to share as much as I have today. Thank you.